Hi, I'm Jennifer Away. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's video is going to be about being an empath. I discovered what being an empath was, and if you're anything like me, when you discovered what it actually was, you were actually quite relieved. There were so many things in my life that pointed to this being my reality. As a child, I was called overly sensitive. I was emotionally triggered very easily. Uh, um, I was very sensitive around other people, and I could kind of tell like where they were coming from, even if they didn't really understand where they were coming from. I think that was one of the most difficult things. As a kid, when you were an empath, you are literally feeling other people's feelings. You're almost taking them on as your own. It's a heavy burden. And in this video, we're going to talk about ways to not take that on and take that in. Because that's kind of the big rule about being an empath. Don't take it in, don't take it on. It's not yours. So essentially, growing up, I would, especially with the grown-ups in my life, who were a little bit in denial about their own truth, they would be talking to me about something, and I could relate to what they were feeling, but not what they were saying, and it was super confusing for me as a kid. And it was only until I got more confident and that I understood that when I moved away from certain people, I would feel normal again. I'm making this video because I know a lot of people are waking up to the fact that this is a very real thing for them. If you are an empath, if you've sort of read the quizzes online, are you an empath? Or you're an empath if, you sleep a lot, people drain you, you eat when you're emotionally, under the weather. I don't know. It's definitely something that is in the vernacular at this point in time. The biggest message is you're not alone. There's so many of us out there. And the other big message that I want to let you know is that you're here for a reason. People who have an empathic quality or very highly sensitized, you are here to usher in an age of putting value into feelings and our emotions again. We've gotten so used to, in the last couple of thousand years, repressing our emotions. We've got to just forge ahead. Don't waste time feeling anything. Do not cry. All of these suppressed emotions, if you're not an empath and you are around one, they can feel what you're suppressing. So even if you're not aware of it, they are, and it drives them crazy. So what do we do as empaths? How do we survive in today's overly stimulated world? How do we deal? How do we go food shopping? How do we go to a concert without getting a headache? What can we do to protect ourselves? The number one thing is boundaries. I'm going to say the number one thing a lot. There's a lot of number ones. That makes no sense, but whatever. Too bad. So it's very important to know what your boundaries are. Saying no is a huge part of being an empath. I've talked to a lot of empaths recently, and one of the things that comes up for them, or from what I can understand it as, because I felt the same way, you find yourself around a lot of narcissistic people. And these are people who are really dependent on you for the energy that you can give them, for the support, for the advice, because you always know what they need, because you're just tuned in. The problem therein is that you're not tuned into yourself, and you're not tuned into what you need. And it's very easy to go around pleasing everybody, and then you feel drained at the end of the day. And then who's pleasing you? It's your job to please you. It's your job to understand what your needs and wants, and desires are. As an empath, sometimes you just do want to crawl under a rock, but there's a way to live with this. There's a way to thrive with this. This sensitivity, is a superpower. And it sounds kind of cheesy, and I know it's a little bit of like, you're amazing, you can do anything, and that kind of bullshitty advice that seems kind of empty. But it really is a superpower because you're needed in the world. You're needed to show people some light. There is so much light and love that is needed in this world, and what better type of person or what better ability to show them than this kind of sensitivity? So I want you to protect that sensitivity. I want you to value that sensitivity. And I want you to make sure that you get it through your cells, your bones, everything. This is a very important and amazing ability. And you can take it and develop it even further. If you're really suffering, I absolutely recommend finding someone to talk to. Again, I will say, it's not easy dealing with all these people's emotions, but you have to understand they are not yours to deal with. Let's go into a little bit about how you can really help yourself. So some of the main things are, as I said, creating boundaries. How do you know where your boundaries are unless you know how far you'll go? Don't beat yourself up if you've been drained by somebody and you're like, oh, I should have known they were an energetic vampire. Don't beat yourself up. That's fine. What you need to do now is just recognize exactly where you let them step over a line. And you keep doing this. You keep observing that. You find out where those lines are. For a long time, I didn't love the word boundary. I wanted to think of it more as like, you're a jellyfish. You're flexible, you're transparent, but there is a point where you end and something else begins. And if someone steps on you the wrong way, you fucking sting them. No, don't do that. I don't advocate that. But it's understandable. People do recognize that you have this and they take from it. When you start saying no, there's going to be plenty of people, and it's going to be heartbreaking, but there's going to be so many people who are not okay with that. And they're going to make you feel bad, and they're going to make you feel crappy. That is not the kind of person you want in your life. That is not the kind of energy you want in your life. For as sensitive as you are, you need to make sure that the people around you, the environment, everything is pleasing. Everything is making you feel good, not bad or depleted. Be aware of that. Take note of that. I do have some notes and I'm going to refer to them this time. Okay. So again, like you're really not alone. It's really difficult. Another thing is like if you work in the hospitality industry, or you interact with large groups of people, or you have coworkers without boundaries, it's like the new Doctors Without Borders. I recommend visualizing the washing away of all of these energies that you may have picked up during your day, doing it at the end of the day. You can do this in a shower where you imagine that the water is just washing it away. Again, put intention into it, mean it. So you're in the shower, you say, this water will cleanse me of any energies that are not mine, that are clogging up my own energetic field. And really mean it. Do it. Do it every day. See how it feels. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, fuck it. Okay, so the other thing is I want to also mention, if this video doesn't really speak to you and you don't find that you're a sensitive person, you probably have these people in your life. You have to treat them with care. You have to understand they are having difficulty in understanding themselves and grappling with how to help other people, because it's really wonderful and enriching and fulfilling to help other people when you're an empath, because it's really your ability. But you have to understand when they might be giving too much of themselves because they haven't quite learned those boundaries. So that's where you can help if you're not an empath and you have one in your life. So let me just scroll a little. Isn't it great watching me scroll? So again, protecting your energetic state is the most important thing. And just making sure that you're not drained by those around you. Sometimes when you're overloaded with everyone else's energy, you might want to numb. You might want to numb yourself with alcohol or drugs or food or sex or whatever. We tend to know what everyone else needs, but we many times remember that we don't focus on what we need. So shift that. You don't need that shit, okay? So empaths need sleep, rest. You need time to recharge and reacquaint your own energy away from the energy overflow of others. You need time in nature. Being around water is great. If you can't do that, take a bath. If you don't like baths, get out and walk in the woods. There's got to be woods around you. If there's no woods around you, get a fuck ton of indoor plants and literally sit with them, talk to them, maybe do it alone. But like, look at them, examine them, get outside of yourself and just be with them, because that energy is going to help neutralize everything else that's going on. Again, nature is where we can clear everything out as much as possible. That's what it's there for. It is really love. It's the love of Earth in like life form. So use it. It's a wonderful tool. It clears. It's like a brush. You also need a space just for you in your living area, a space that brings you peace. You don't have to be a feng shui expert. Just pay attention to how things feel in a particular room. Move shit around to tweak it. If it doesn't feel right, and just move it around until it feels right. You know, if your bed is in a weird corner, and maybe move it around. You can always move it back. You know, again, plants, have candles, essential oil diffusers, crystals. Of course I'm going to do this because I'm a freaking like new age hippie. But those things are actually really good, and they can bring you a sense of peace. Even if they don't yet, that's fine. Bring something else that brings you peace. That's the most important thing. Whatever brings you comfort and peace. Make sure that quiet and silence is a big part of your day. Restrict your media. I cannot emphasize this enough. Restrict your social media, your film, your news. Holy shit. I'll get into this in more videos, but this really goes for everybody. You need to restrict that shit. It's too much. It's just too much. We're not built for all of this information. We can't form any thoughts anymore. I'll get into that in another video. You know, again, you're not alone. You know, people are not going to like it when you start setting your boundaries. And goodbye. That's fine. You know, you're going to make space for the people who do respect your boundaries. You have to be the one to start. People won't respect them until you set them. That's really important. You really got to build that up. And it's hard for us because we want to please everybody. It feels so much better to please people than let them into our weird internal world that they're not going to like or understand. I get it. I totally get it. You are worth protecting. You're here for a reason. You're a gem. You're a treasure. You're here to usher in a new consciousness. You really are. You know, tending to your own emotional garden is the most you can do, all right? That work helps others. So focus on that. Sometimes we feel like, no, but I have to push myself aside so that I can help this person. That's what being a good person is. No, tending to your own emotional needs, taking responsibility for yourself is going to help other people. Trust me. Let me just make sure I've got everything, you know. Make sure that you're strong internally, and then you don't have to hide all the time. The last thing I'm going to sort of, yay, my video's not going to be too long. The last thing I really want to talk about also is a little method that Teal Swan, if you don't know her, look her up, Tealswan. Teal Swan has a method for dealing with, if you're an empath and you're in a large group of people, instead of resisting it or trying to create a boundary around yourself, pretend you're like water. Let it flow through you and let it flow past you. That's also another way you can do it. There are, again, a lot of tips online about what you can do to protect and conserve your energy. But and you can look those up and you can find them. They're great. Some of them will work for you. Some of them won't. But the main point that I really want to drive home is that you're not alone. This is an important gift to have. Start taking care of it. Take care of yourself before you start taking care of everybody else, okay? And that's going to be it. I'm sending you so much love. Really, I love you. Love yourself. Give yourself a big old hug. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week, all right? Bye.